Hi everyone, I'm going to show you my take on American barbecue made with Aussie boneless pork shoulder. I'm telling you, it is rich pulled pork with a tangy slaw and bacon cornbread on the side. It's going to blow your mind. It's a great meal to make when you've got friends coming over, especially if you're going to watch a game together, but it's also great because you can make it ahead of time. It's delicious. Give it a go. Here I have my boneless pork shoulder. Now, you'll notice it's not skinless. You've got to keep that skin on because we're going to get that fantastic crusty crackling. It's a fantastic cut for slow cooking. Now, what you're looking for here is meat that's pinkish red in color with a good amount of marbling through the meat. And that good amount of fat that goes through will keep this very moist and delicious. Now, shoulder is one of the cheaper but also tougher cuts of pork, so you want to make sure that you cook it low and slow. That means the fat melts through and you end up with this incredibly tender and rich meat that just falls apart when you cut into it. Before I preheat the oven, I'm going to make sure that the rack is in the center, then set it to 150 Celsius. I know, it's very low. And if you're cooking on fan force, 130 please. Now, you make sure to season the pork meat really well with salt and pepper. See how there's been scores cut into this pork skin? Season in between those scores. Because what's going to happen is that salt is also going to flavor your pork, but most importantly, it's going to draw moisture out of it, right? And the best thing about that is the skin here is going to go super crispy and crunchy. Then you can turn it over, season it on the other side as well with both salt and pepper. Now, you keep the skin side up in a shallow roasting pan and you roast it for 5.5 hours. That's right, 5.5 hours. And don't worry about the skin going crisp. That comes right at the end. Remember, this is low and slow. That's the secret to incredibly tender meat. Now, while the pork's in the oven, I'm gonna make a batch of delicious bacon cornbread to serve with the pork. This time, what you need is a rack to be near the bottom of the oven because you want all that heat to come up from the bottom so it doesn't overcook, but you get that nice crust. Here we go, grab your frying pan. What we're gonna do is start off by cooking the bacon for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and crisp. Now, I'm using streaky bacon because I want that fat to render out of the bacon into the pan. Throw it in. The pan doesn't have to be hot when you put it in. It'll slowly get there. The fat will render out. The bacon will get crisp and wonderful. When the bacon is crisp, drain it from the pan and reserve a tablespoon of that bacon fat separately. Next, we need 2 bowls, one for the dry, one for the wet mixture. So we start off with the dry ingredients. What I'm going to do is take my cornmeal or polenta, some flour, a little sugar, some baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, and some salt. All I'm going to do is get a little whisk and just mix them all together. And then in a separate bowl, what we're going to do is whisk the wet ingredients. So into this bowl, we take the buttermilk and 2 eggs, and you whisk. All we do here is just gently whisk the bottom and just pour in those dry ingredients. You don't want to overwork it. So just combined. Now, your bacon should be getting nice and crisp. You'll see a lot of that fat does render out when you cook the bacon. And over here, I've got my butter, which is beautifully melted as well. Turn off your heat, strain that bacon fat, keep the fat, and then finally what you do is stir in the bacon pieces and the melted butter. This time I just get a silicone spatula, work around the outside, fold that bacon and butter through. So using the reserved bacon fat, what we do is we get our brush and we just go ahead and brush the inside of our pan. Then you pick up your pan, you take that beautiful cornbread mixture and you pour it right on in. Isn't that a beautiful thing? You don't really need to spread it out, it just falls down. If it doesn't, you could just give it a little tap on the side so it spreads nice and evenly, and then you bake the cornbread on the bottom rack of your oven with the pork for about 18 minutes. To test if it's ready, all you're going to do is insert a little skewer into the center of the cornbread and it should come out clean, or just a few moist crumbs. It's just out of the oven. Now what you need to do is let it cool in the pan on a wire rack for about 10 minutes before turning it out, right? And then you're going to cut it into beautiful little pieces. In the meantime, let's make the barbecue sauce. Beautiful. Now my pork has been roasting for about 5.5 hours. I've let it cool slightly, so I'm just going to pick it up here and pour some of that excess fat About 1/3 of a cup is what you're looking for. Oh, beautiful. You take that 1/3 of a cup of the drippings that came out of that roast pork, add it to your pan, then you add your apple cider vinegar and your brown sugar, just a little pinch of chili flake, then the tomato paste, and lastly, black pepper. This needs to simmer over a medium heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. Give it a stir occasionally, and when it's ready, it'll reduce to this delicious syrupy consistency. Season the sauce with salt and keep it warm. So, we've got just a couple of things to do left in this recipe. We're gonna make our slaw, we're gonna cut our cornbread, but first, we need to crackle this pork. Because what we've done is we've cooked it nice and slow. The bottom of this pork is perfectly cooked, but I wanna get that skin really crisp. So crank your oven, 230, it's going back in for 20 minutes. While we wait for that pork to come out, this is what you need to do for the slaw. Grab yourself a nice big bowl, toss the capsicum, the Spanish onion, and then of course, that beautiful cabbage. Then you just toss those together. Then we grab our barbecue sauce and we add 1/3 of a cup to the slaw. About that much. Give yourself a pair of tongs, give it a toss, and then you're going to season it with salt and pepper. Ho, 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 ho. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. Beautiful, crunchy, crackling. Now you get that just from that last little bit of cooking. Listen to it. That's exactly what you want. Okay, so first of all, you're going to remove that crackling from the pork. So let me pick it up here, bring it over. Oh, look at that. It's literally falling apart, you guys. Bring it on over. You could even cut it straight down the center. And look at this. You see how that meat is literally fork tender? It's just going to fall apart. So remove that crackling, just like this, straight off the top. Pick up that pork. All right, now with this beautiful crackling, and just let me show it to you here, cut it into sort of large pieces like this, and using a couple of forks, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that pork apart. Now you know why they call it pulled pork. You can see how tender it is, the way it just easily falls apart. Now I know this one cooks for a long period of time, but what I would always suggest is double up on the quantity. Do a big old piece, because this will actually freeze very, very well. A little bit of slaw. Get that beautiful pulled pork. Oh yeah. Finish it off with that leftover barbecue sauce. Now it's a vinegar-based barbecue sauce, so it's got a little bit of acid to it. Break through some of that fatty pork. And then the last thing, of course, is the cornbread. So you get this beautiful crunchy on the outside cornbread. You can cut it into perfect squares. You can really tear it. You can do whatever you like. But what I'm going to do is cut a piece. You'll see those beautiful pieces of bacon through there. I'm going to literally cut myself a nice old piece like this. If you want to, you can cut it in half. Then you can load it all up. Some of that pulled pork. Some of that beautiful slaw. Gives a really nice crunch. A little bit of the crackling, don't forget about that, it's the best part. Oh yeah. Enjoy.